Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe today is going to be talking about shopping smart and knowing you're right. So stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost office, and he brings to us a variety of different pieces of information regarding scams, regarding how you as a consumer can best not be financially hurt. Ryan, It's great having you here.
Great. Nice to be with you.
You have some really good information that you bring to the table. And today we're going to be talking about shopping smart, know you're right. What does that mean?
Well, we do a lot in terms of enforcing certain laws and rules for the state of Ohio. When the General Assembly in Columbus uses their wisdom and passes laws regarding consumer protection and enforcing things like the Consumer Sales Practices Act, which has been on the books in some form for decades, they look to the consumer protection section of the Ohio Attorney General's office to enforce those laws and those rules. So it's really important that people know their rights, and that when they do, whether it's Black Friday shopping after Thanksgiving, or whether it's going back to school and back to college shopping, things like that, that they keep in mind some of their basic rights in terms of refund policies, advertising, all those different kinds of little subtopics that make up our entire experience of seeing things that are for sale and going to the mall or going online to do our shopping, and actually considering, researching, and purchasing those products and services. So we try in the consumer protection section to ensure that it's a safe marketplace for all consumers. So it can be everything from home improvement work, which I know we've talked about before on your show, to buying a motor vehicle. We recently talked about that issue, to seeing a store advertisement. We'll get into some of the problems that we face sometimes with store advertisements. But it could be shopping online, could be filling up on gas, could be refinancing your mortgage. All different kinds of consumer events are involved in what we look at day to day on behalf of residential consumers throughout the state of Ohio.
You know, Ryan, your associates and you have a wealth of knowledge and understanding. It would be really nice if people would invite you to come and speak with them, either on Zoom or in person.
Absolutely. And we're going to be getting back into a normal environment where we're going to be speaking and live to audiences in person around the state of Ohio, probably right after July 4th holiday. So if you're watching this and we're right around the corner, or it's after July 4th and you want a presentation in person, please let us know. We have a toll-free number that's our help center. You can ask to get a consumer protection presentation to your organization, either virtually or in person. We usually like to have at least 20 people if it's an in-person presentation. Make sure, because we have travel time and those types of things. Most of us are coming from Columbus. But if you have something that you want us to take part in, let us know. Our toll-free number is 800-282-0515, or we are online at www.ohioprotects.org. And most of our speeches, at least when they're in person, we try to do them during the week, during business hours, to flow best with our work schedule. But no matter what the case is, if you have a small group, a large group, church organization, Lions Club, Rotary, anything in between, just let us know how we can help, and whether you want an educational presentation by one of our consumer educators, and we can do it either virtually or in person.
I know that you've been at several places that my wife and I have undertook, and I'll be quite honest with you, we continue to learn a great deal as to what the present day scams are, how to best protect ourselves.
Yeah, and today we're going to be going over some more information, but we're going to sort of step back and talk about knowing your fundamental rights as a consumer. I mean, the Consumer Sales Practices Act has been in effect for decades, but through case law, through revisions, things change, and the most important thing is we're educated on the most up-to-date information, and that we know where you stand as a consumer when it comes to buying something at whether it's a drugstore, a grocery store, at a shopping center, or as many of us do now, buying things on the internet. You do have some fundamental consumer rights. So I'm going to share my screen and let's learn together about some of your rights and how to shop smart. We do these kinds of presentations that typically are 45, 50 minutes long in front of groups. We're not going to take that long today, but keep in mind we can make these presentations longer or shorter depending on your group's needs. So what we're going to dive into now is some of your consumer rights. There is the face of the Attorney General's office, Dave Yost. He is the elected office holder as Ohio's 51st Attorney General. I want to go to the Consumer Sales Practices Act. What that does is that protects you and me from unfair, deceptive, and unconscionable sales practices in connection with consumer transactions. Now, consumer transactions could be something as simple as seeing an advertisement on TV, or something as complicated as buying a new vehicle at your local dealership. And the CSPA applies before, during, and after a transaction. So as you see on the screen, we enforce a lot of acts and a lot of laws. We're not going to go over all of these, but suffice it to say, we've got a lot of legislation out there that needs to be enforced to keep things fair for consumers and fair for businesses. In terms of advertising, you certainly want to make sure that whatever is in your advertising has the terms and limitations of whatever item is being bought and sold. So as a consumer, if you see something on sale, like a video game system for a really inexpensive price, you certainly want to know if quantities are limited, if there's a sale only during certain times of the day, or whether there's a deadline for when you need to purchase the item by in order to get the sale price. You certainly shouldn't be selling any used items and telling people that they're actually new items. So items need to be marked accordingly so that you're not selling something under false pretenses. And if something's refurbished or remanufactured, you need to be honest with consumers about the state of that product. And free has to really mean free. You shouldn't be susceptible to a buy one, get one free sale where they literally double the price of the first item to make it look like you're getting the second item free when you're really not. So if it's a buy one, get one free sale, or they tell you you've gotten something for free with purchase, it should really mean free. And no bait advertising. This goes back to a lot of tactics that have been used over the years by some unscrupulous merchants that give you an advertised product and tell you it's a wonderful price. And then when people show up, they dissuade them from buying that product. They might disparage it. They might tell you it's not available, but lo and behold, there's something better at a more expensive price that they want you to buy. And so that bait and switch kind of advertising is typically illegal in Ohio and throughout the country. But bait and switch is something we still see some of today. And you may, it's a little different than just telling people that quantities are limited. In a bait and switch scam or bait and switch advertising, you're literally advertising something and then dissuading people from buying that product and trying to get them to buy something else instead.
I would imagine that it would be very difficult to really prove that a business did the bait and switch.
Yeah, that can be difficult, but we do have investigators on staff that could go out in the field. They can take people's cases and try to take a look and see if something like that is happening. Of course, it's our, we would have to prove that they are doing that, or else bring up the tactic and come up with some settlement or some decree with them to stop the activity and something like that. But as with all cases, if we actually bring it to a court, we're going to need to prove to the law, we're going to have to prove to that court that the tactics they're using are illegal and already provided for under the law as being illegal. Also, rain checks in terms of people wanting to get an item. If they show up and the item is out of stock, unless somebody has told you that the quantity is limited or told you that only 5 or 6 of them or 10 of them are in stock and they're honest with you, usually you would be able to get a rain check for an item that you want to purchase if it's out of stock and you want to secure that price for a later time when you go to buy the item when it is in stock. So we do get into situations where rain checks need to be issued in the state of Ohio, and most merchants and businesses know how to do that and have a way to process that information and give you a coupon or give you material to take back to the store for when the item is then in stock at a later date. Gift cards, under Ohio law, most gift cards cannot expire or be assessed fees within 2 years of the date it's issued. In fact, federal law and under some federal laws, most gift cards are good for 5 years. And some gift cards aren't covered under state law, though. So if you are looking at buying someone a gift card for a service and not for a certain amount of money, let's say you're giving somebody a gift card for 1 month of unlimited tanning, or giving them a gift card for a manicure or for a haircut, instead of a gift card for $50 towards a service offered by that salon. That would be something that may not be covered under Ohio's gift card law because it's for a service and not for a particular dollar amount. Also, if it's for multiple retailers, if it's good for any store in the mall, it potentially might not be covered under Ohio law. Or if it's one of those gift cards that are really like a Visa or MasterCard or American Express gift card of some sort, good for wherever they accept the card, that may not be covered under the traditional Ohio gift card law either. In terms of refund policies, it's important to know that stores are not required to have any specific refund policy, but if they have a refund policy in Ohio, it has to be clearly posted. People need to know that it's up front. The store is being upfront about their refund policy. And if they only put it on the back of a receipt, that is usually not enough because you only see that after you've already decided to purchase the item and already charged it on your credit card or given someone money to buy the item. So it needs to be somewhere in the store or on the internet seller's website. And if they charge any restocking fees, I know a lot of electronics retailers, folks like that may charge a restocking fee for the administrative and the overhead charged with having to bring the item back into the store, put it back into inventory, and perhaps even without the box that it came in. So if restocking fees are charged, they have to be clearly disclosed up front. Now, I know we already talked a lot about motor vehicle sales and repairs on a different episode of Consumer Protection and You, but I did want to mention that a lot of cars in Ohio are sold as is with no warranty. And so typically that means that once the car goes off the lot, once you've paid for it, that car and all of its problems are generally assumed by you as the buyer. Now, if you buy a new car, you probably get a manufacturer's warranty, which gives you some better peace of mind. You generally have no right to cancel the purchase of a car because you don't like it a few days later or a few months later, anything like that. And the title has to be delivered to you within 40 days, or else there's a process we can go through at the Attorney General's office to try to get your money back through what we call the Title Defect Rescission Fund. Big, long words, but essentially it guarantees consumers will get a title within 40 days of buying the vehicle. And you have a right to an estimate for vehicle repairs if it's more than $50. And it's always helpful to get an estimate in writing and to save that estimate for when something may go wrong, or if they mischarge you or unauthorized some type of charge to your credit card. Then you have some paperwork and something to go back on that you've agreed to with that repair shop.
Just because they estimate, can they at the end increase the amount of money that they're going to charge you? Or well, once they estimate, it stays the same?
No, they can change it. I mean, it is possible, but if it goes up by a certain percentage, then they have to let you know, and they have to get authorization from you to actually get that modified. So let me look at the estimate tells you the expected cost of the repairs. Always get an estimate in writing. And if the repair costs more than 10% of the estimate, the shop has to get your approval to do the extra work. Now, with new cars, the good thing about new cars is at least you're protected by the Lemon Law. But the Lemon Law is with a car that has had the same problem typically over and over again when it's purchased in new condition or within the first year or the first 18,000 miles of the car's life. So it mostly applies to new cars. And usually you have to have a recurring problem for you to be eligible to potentially get benefits under the Lemon Law. Where you might be able, if you've given the manufacturer and the dealership a reasonable opportunity to fix the problem, make sure you get all your repair information in writing. But if you do it over and over again and the Lemon Law applies, you might be able to give the car back and get your money back. But that's only after giving the manufacturer and the dealership a reasonable opportunity to fix the problem. With door-to-door sales, obviously a lot of people aren't selling cars door-to-door, but they might be selling, I remember the days when they sold encyclopedias door-to-door. They sell knives door-to-door. Sometimes they're home repair folks that go door-to-door. Generally speaking, the Ohio's Home Solicitation Sales Act protects you against many kinds of fraud. And it covers sales of $25 or more made in a consumer's home or at a location that is not the company's regular place of business. Like, for instance, maybe a trade show, the Senior Expo, a home improvement expo, places like that. And if they're trying to sell you something and you agree, you still have a 3-day right to cancel by mail or by email. So if you tell them if they come to your house and say they want to clean your gutters and you tell them, okay, they have to give you a 3-day right to cancel if they are doing that door-to-door sale. So they shouldn't be cleaning your gutters right away unless it's some kind of an emergency. They should be giving you a 3-day right to cancel, in which case you can get other estimates. You're free to cancel by mail or by email. And it's sort of a cooling off period to make sure that you aren't, that you know what you're doing and that you don't second guess your own decision to buy that product or service through door-to-door solicitation or outside of the company's regular place of business. I like to call it sort of a cooling off period for the consumer. You can get other estimates. You can definitely do your due diligence to figure out if that product or service is really right for you. And then after 3 days, they're permitted to do the work.
Are you seeing a lot of door-to-door sales, or has that really gone down quite a bit?
Well, I think with people being home, whether it's because of the pandemic or, some offices are permanently working remotely at this point. So with more people home, I anticipate we will continue to see some level of door-to-door sales. Especially when it concerns utilities and cable and internet and home repairs. Some people that don't have a stellar reputation go door to door instead of advertising. They can go into a neighborhood, they can knock on doors, they can try to build up their reputation by getting some sales door to door. So I still think that is a tactic used by both legitimate businesses as well as scam artists to try to persuade people to get a service or a product. Now, we have something in the law that has sort of an interesting name, a prepaid entertainment contract. What that really is about is when you are getting something like a gym membership, or you're doing a dating service or martial arts training, something like that, you generally have a 3-day right to cancel those kinds of contracts as well. And now the length of prepaid entertainment contracts cannot exceed 3 years, and the law does not cover all prepaid contracts. You know, for example, I don't think a tanning package is considered to be prepaid entertainment in the state of Ohio, but a gym membership would be. So through cases, through all kinds of rules, it establishes what kind of contracts apply that 3-day right to cancel. But health clubs, other prepaid entertainment sellers are required to give consumers notice of their right to cancel. And so there's other products and services that have cancellation rights for the consumer as well. I want to go through a few of those. Credit and debt counseling can be canceled within 3 days. And again, that's measured in business days, Monday through Saturday in the state of Ohio. If you sign a contract in your home, as I mentioned before, as long as it's not the seller's normal place of business, you are going to get that 3-day right to cancel in most times. If you're getting a home equity loan or a mortgage refinancing, you are then also given a 3-day right to cancel. And again, prepaid entertainment contracts, 3 days. Business opportunity plans. If somebody's trying to persuade you to maybe be an entrepreneur and take up a business opportunity, a package of maybe goods and services they're going to provide to give you some guidance in terms of a business opportunity, then you have a 5-day right to cancel. In hearing aids, you have a 30-day right to cancel. With telemarketing sales, you have a 7-day right to cancel or until you've received the written agreement. So there's some special rules that apply to telemarketing. So, you might be able to apply those to calls that you get. If you are saying yes to something, you may be given up to 7 days or until you actually receive the written agreement to cancel that type of product or service if they're trying to get you to buy over the phone.
Now, when you cancel a service, do you have to do that in writing? Can you make a phone call? What is the options that you must undertake?
Well, typically cancellations do have to be in writing. So you can send it in the mail. You can send it these days through email, usually is an acceptable way to cancel your service. You can deliver it in person if you choose. But what is typically not covered under the law are most phone calls. If you're simply calling and leaving somebody a voicemail or telling them verbally or orally, no, I want to cancel, make sure you back that up with something written, either sending it in the mail or sending it in the email. And again, make sure that they get that written notice by your cancellation period. So if it's a debt counseling service, make sure they get the cancellation in writing within those 3 days that we've measured out for your cancellation rights. Now, one other thing that we typically go over in our Shop Smart Know Your Rights presentation is a little bit about identity theft. So that is when a person obtains and uses your personal information without your permission to commit fraud. And so that is when someone actually takes something like your social security number, like your credit card, and does something without your authorization to commit fraud. They actually have to use that information for it to be considered identity theft. You can do some proactive things to help yourself out if you think you might be a victim of identity theft. The first thing you can do is get an initial fraud alert on your credit report. That's where you can contact one of the 3 credit reporting agencies. They have a duty to contact the other 2 credit reporting agencies, because there are 3 in the United States: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So if you want an initial fraud alert, that stays for 1 year on your credit report. That's free, and it does not affect your credit score. And essentially, it requires creditors to make additional attempts to figure out whether it's you or not before establishing credit in your name. So it helps protect you from identity theft if you have an initial fraud alert on your account. The other thing I wanted to quickly go over is how to get a credit freeze. If you want a credit freeze, that will make sure that no creditor can get access to your credit report for the purposes of giving you new credit. Unless they're already doing business with you, you can still use your existing credit cards. But this is for new creditors that would be trying to open up credit with under your name, with your identifying information. If you want a credit freeze, you contact all 3 credit reporting agencies. You can lift the freeze either temporarily or leave it on permanently. And it is free to place, lift, or remove a credit freeze. And that does not affect your credit score at all either. So a credit freeze is a good step. Since it's free, since it covers, you have to contact all 3 credit reporting agencies if you want a credit freeze on all 3 reports. But that is a really good step to help prevent credit card and other credit forms of identity theft. That's the website to go to, annualcreditreport.com, for a free credit report. I wanted to end with that because it's important to note that you can, under federal law, get copies of your credit report once a year through annualcreditreport.com. And through April 19th of 2022, you can actually get weekly updates on your credit report. So you can actually go to annualcreditreport.com and get a weekly credit report through April 19th, 2022, as part of the response to the pandemic, to the COVID-19. I just wanted to put our website on the screen. It's ohioprotects.org. Again, it's www.ohioprotects.org. And our phone number is 800-282-0515. And the bigger website for the entire Attorney General's office is www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov. And there's some other consumer resources. At this point, I am going to stop talking. Make sure you get a good idea of what consumer resources is out there. And I can entertain any questions or follow-up that you might have, Patrick.
I think that was excellent. One of the things that I found, listening to your presentation and going to the actual websites, is that there is a wealth of information available just about on any topic or subject.
Right, and simply getting access to the internet has saved a lot of people time from having to go to the library or making lots of phone calls. So much can be done online that we want people that feel comfortable online to really empower themselves to do some research, whether it be through an internet search engine or going to official websites like ohioprotects.org to get more tips and empower themselves with a lot of information to make good, educated decisions about what to buy and how to buy it.
Ryan, I want to thank you again for coming on the Consumer Protection and You. We're talking with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the Ohio Attorney General David Yost's office. Ryan, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Patrick.
And we look forward to talking with you soon again.
It's always wonderful. Thanks so much.